Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about the slap herd. No, we're not talking about the slap herd around the world. We're going to talk about the death of comedy, activist comedy, and other assorted things that all kill the genre of comedy, something of which I hold very near and dear to my heart. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We have to let things progress naturally. So, monkeys, roll the footage.
Honeymoonish. One of these days, Alice. One of these days.
Yeah, I know, Ralph. Right to the moon.
So, you all set to go hunting? Sorry, I thought you were a deer.
I actually said the right year that time. All right, go me. And yeah, comedy is always my favorite. It is in different types of comedy, you know, black comedies, slapstick, you know, things of the like. I enjoy it. Off the wall, kind of edgy, risque stuff. Not contrived, though. You know what I mean? But there's a new kind of comedy, and Adam McKay, director of films like Talladega Nights, the other guys, he's kind of at the forefront of that, and that's the subject of what this article is about, the crux, the nucleus, if you will. But I've been watching The Sopranos too much. Oh! This article titled, The Death of Humor and the Rise of Activist Comedy. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The act of comedy may still be alive, but the art of comedy has less life than Howard Stern's current audience. Oh! This is Adam McKay. Doesn't he? That's a neck beard. Why would you even grow that? Like, and that mustache, like, that is... Okay, I don't mean to split hairs here, but pun intended. That mustache... I grew a thicker mustache than that when I was like 14 years old. Holy mother of God. Like, if my facial hair grew in that bad, I would never let that grow out past like a day's worth of stubble. Like, that's a neck beard, and this guy looks like he's on a list somewhere. Let me put it to you that way.
I love that cocksucker like a brother, and he fucked me in the ass.
One of the biggest symptoms of a broken society is the inability to laugh. Not because we, the people, have lost the ability. It's because the people in charge of the genre now dictate what is and isn't funny. No better example of this is filmmaker Adam McKay.
Does he look like a bitch?
Yup! If you're a bit older, you may remember Adam McKay as the man responsible for such comedies as Anchorman, Talladega Nights, and the other guys. If you're a bit younger, this may surprise you because McKay hasn't directed anything funny in the last 13 years. And this picture of him, and he looks like he would be a barista at Starbucks, and he would yell at you about, you know, racial inequality or equity of outcome after he serves you your $15 latte and gets mad because you only tip him, you know, $3 or $4. You could buy, well, I'm not going to get into the semantics and the financial end of how much coffee you can actually procure for $15 unless you want to look pretentious with your little fucking Starbucks cup. Yup! I mean, that's between you and Jesus, or the Flying Spaghetti Monster, whichever one you prefer.
What?
Instead, McKay has spent the last few years perfecting a new genre called activist comedy, which is just as funny as political activism, meaning it's not funny at all, which is absolutely correct. Think about that. Activism unto itself. The only thing humorous about activism is that we can make fun of how stupid most of these new activists are, because they're not fighting for anything that hasn't already been fought for. You know, I mean, let's really boil this down here. These activists aren't funny. They're stupid, they're annoying, and they're fighting fights that are akin to nothing. Say you start protesting against kicking puppies, right? Am I right? Who's for kicking puppies? Maybe outside of Michael Vick, but that's another story altogether. That's racist! I know there's somebody out there in the comments like, he's done his time. He's paid his dues to society. He's still a piece of fucking shit, all right? You're protesting against kicking puppies. Like, people don't inherently know that kicking puppies is wrong. Much the same as the Black Lives Matter crowd. They're protesting things that we all know are wrong. Racial violence is wrong. Hate crimes are wrong. Unless you're Juicy Smollett, you get out of going to prison for faking a hate crime, and then because you're pretending to be mentally unstable, you get let out early on your sentence. Do you see? Do you kind of get what I'm saying here?
Yeah, I believe I know what you are saying.
The only thing funny about activism is parodying these activists and how ridiculous they are. McKay has been releasing progressive hit pieces disguised as movies that aim at anyone who is to the right of his own Twitter account. He has perfected the art of front-running and sometimes gaslighting whatever the progressive crusade for the current election cycle is, and Hollywood loves it. Of course they do. Hollywood is, you know, they're basically high on their own supply. Adam McKay's last 3 films have received a total of 45 major award nominations from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the Oscars, Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the Golden Globes, and the British Academy Film Awards, the BAFTAs alone. You know, and I think Steve Carell's funny, but my God, is he, and he's an asshole. In 2015, he wrote and directed The Big Short, a comedy that tackled Wall Street and corporate greed amidst the height of the Occupy Wall Street movement, which I always laughed at the Occupy Wall Street movement. I did. I always laughed at that. It was so fun. I liked The Big Short, you know, for what it was. But see, I knew what it was, and I looked at it like, it's a fucking comedy to me, you know, because they're trying to, you know, place blame here when we know where the blame really is by this point in time, because they were talking about '08. If you want to watch a good movie about the 2008 financial crisis, I suggest Too Big to Fail. Also, if you like that kind of stuff, The Smartest Guys in the Room about Enron was also wonderful. There was so many great documentaries out about and I love that kind of stuff. Surprisingly, I don't really get to talk about it that much here, but yeah, I've watched Too Big to Fail, The Smartest Guys in the Room, probably 3 or 4 times each. That's another topic altogether. The film pointed the finger at Wall Street bankers for causing the 2008 financial collapse while ignoring legislation written by Congress that allowed banks to lower financial standards under the guise that home ownership was a human right. That was a precursor to saying healthcare is a human right. Because the film had Margot Robbie in a hot tub, people loved it. I mean, she was in a bathtub, not to split hairs here, but yeah, she was in a bathtub drinking champagne. And I mean, just watch Wolf of Wall Street if you want to see that, you know. But seriously, this whole thing, you're talking about the ninja loans, no income, no job, no assets. Those loans that were given out in 2008 to, you know, we're talking people who made $20,000 a year buying $120,000 homes and then wondering why they're getting foreclosed on when they had adjustable rate mortgages that would start out low but skyrocket to where your monthly payment would like triple. In some cases, I believe quadruple. This was legislation written by Congress that let the banks do this. In 2019, he doubled down on this formula with the film Vice, a film that operates under the left-wing belief that George W. Bush was such a bumbling idiot that his vice president, Dick Cheney, was the guy actually running the show and blames him for the war in Iraq. McKay recently had to admit his film was flawed because it didn't lay enough blame on the heels of Democrats who openly supported and voted yes on the 2003 Declaration of War. Yes, they did. When we went into Iraq, you all remember that. But the film Vice, I never watched. I watched W. Well, I believe it was Josh Brolin that played George W. Bush. And I pretty much laughed all the way through that movie. And it's funny how almost now, if you look at it, like the left has embraced George Bush on the heels of Donald Trump, because Bush is a globalist. I'm going to get dinged for that, but you know, Bush is a member of the old boys club there with all the other, you know, Obama and Clinton. They're all friends. They are. You know, it's controlled opposition. It's like wrestling. Politics is as real as wrestling. There is no opposition. They're all owned, you know, by the same lobbies and puppet masters. This activist comedy is just another way to try to pass it off to the plebs, because Hollywood doesn't think most of us are smart enough to discern what's going on and what their messaging and their propaganda is. But a lot of us are, and that's why we do what we do. But hey, nobody in Hollywood truly cares about facts. It was an anti-GOP movie, which was enough to score the director 20 major award nominations, which are the most he has received for any movie in his career. Of course it was. Dick Cheney is a parody unto himself. He really is.
Go yourself. Go yourself. Go yourself.
Another really good movie, now that I'm thinking about all the financial stuff, came out in like 2014 or 2015. I believe it was a made-for-TV movie with Richard Dreyfuss playing Bernie Madoff, which that one was phenomenal. Another great movie like that. I love those movies. And I was pissed because none of the streamers back in the day had Too Big to Fail on it, and I just never ordered it. So it's one I'm going to actually order. along with some of the other documentaries from that time, all about the financial stuff, the financial crisis, because I was affected by that in 2008. The business I was working at, where I'd been for almost 9 years, shut down because of mismanaged funds by the owners due to bad investments. So yeah, it hit me, and which kind of piqued my interest in the topic. This brings us to last year's Netflix original movie, Don't Look Up. I have never seen this movie. I've only seen memes from it. A film that attacks anyone who isn't actively screaming on social media about climate change. The progressive belief, unless every single person on Earth, except celebrities and world leaders, agrees to a lower standard of living for the greater good of mankind, the world is going to end, and it will be your fault for not listening to the experts. Much the way they want you to listen to experts like Anthony Fauci, who is just a human trash bag of a person. Activist comedy has been very successful for McKay. Why? Because A-list celebrities such as Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Jennifer Lawrence. Okay, Jennifer Lawrence, I don't ever want to be lectured by you on anything. Your relationship, shall we call it, with Harvey Weinstein eliminates you from being taken seriously. The article was stating that all of those celebrities agree with the films as they're all progressive activists themselves. Then, as McKay props up left-wing narratives that have more venom towards the enemies of progressivism, he is celebrated and awarded by his peers in the industry who thinks the exact same way he does, aka a sycophantic echo chamber. Hollywood loves these films, even if audiences don't. There's no better example of this than Don't Look Up. Despite sitting at 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, a certified rotten score among critics, it still managed to score a nomination for Best Picture. Well, of course it did, because of climate change. For reference, this is the lowest score of any movie nominated for an Academy Award this year, second lowest being Nightmare Alley at 80%. How does the film like this bank 4 nominations? Because politics trumps all, including comedy.
This is outrageous. It's unfair.
Don't Look Up is a film about a group of astronomers that discover a comet will impact Earth within the next 6 months unless Congress acts now to stop it. But Congress and the rest of the world don't seem to care about their impending doom. The film is a metaphor for people who refuse to acknowledge the immediate threat of climate change. McKay himself stated about the film, "It, Don't Look Up, was made for global audience to call out a system of ignoring the greatest threat to human life in history, climate crisis."
Shut up, bitch!
The comedy of the film is how flippant and dismissive everyone is about how we're all going to die, and by everyone, I mean Republicans. Meryl Streep is in the film as the substitute for Donald Trump, and Adam takes great joy at mocking Trump rallies and Trump supporters. Punchline here is that if a comet was really heading towards Earth, Republicans would tell you not to look up because it's a left-wing conspiracy. Wow. Couldn't see that one coming a mile away. There's Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep really hated Donald Trump. He was such a bad, mean man who made mean tweets and said mean things. Remember the mean tweets? He said mean tweets. Remember mean tweets and mean things? And mean things and bad mean things? Meryl Streep also said this about Harvey Weinstein, who's in prison for, well, you know the story, but monkeys, again, roll the footage.
So I just want to thank my agent, Kevin Uvain, and God, Harvey Weinstein.
Now, if the objective here was to mock the American right, you could argue that this is simply a big joke that you are just on the receiving end of. But as I said, McKay doesn't make comedies. He isn't laughing at you. He's screaming at you. At one point in the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio, a man who flies around the world in a private jet screaming about the end of the world in between banging supermodels, has a breakdown where in 100% serious fashion he screams directly at the viewer and says, "I think this whole administration has completely lost their fucking mind and I think we're all going to die." Comedy. This is the fundamental problem with activist comedy. In a nutshell, progressives cannot separate their personal disdain of the viewer from the punchline of the joke. Nothing about that scene was meant to be funny. It was meant to yell at you for being too stupid to listen. It's the cinematic equivalent of Michael Richards screaming at hecklers at the Laugh Factory.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
This isn't a comedy. It is a vent session for multimillionaire elite. But look at it this way. It could be much worse. McKay could be teaming up with Will Ferrell again in an attempt to make real comedy, just as long as your definition of comedy is the same as the Joker. When Hollywood tries to make you laugh, you get woke comedy that uses things such as the patriarchy for a punchline. In a glass half full world, maybe it's a good thing that Hollywood isn't making traditional comedies anymore, but that doesn't mean what comes next will be any better. Comedy as we know it is dead, and progressives killed it.
He's out of line, but he's right.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with Jacob. Comedy is dead. You only can do true comedy the old school way if you check boxes correctly. And even then, look at what happened to Dave Chappelle. And I say that because you used to have comedians that pushed the envelope no matter what skin color they were. Now you would be, and it's funny too. I always laugh at people that are afraid of being canceled. You're afraid of lunatics on Twitter yelling at you. I mean, yeah, I know there's real world repercussions for some of this, you know, as far as professional careers go. I guess I have the luxury of not having to worry about that, knowing your time and place to make jokes, what to say, what not to say, what kind of jokes to make, and the way to frame a joke. But again, that goes with having the mental faculties to be able to play to an audience who are going to be a mix of all political spectrums and angles, and not, you know, just going off the rails on, like Jacob Smith said, a Michael Richards tangent, which was obviously racist. You know, there's a way to frame things to make them funny, and everything is able to be made fun of, or nothing is able to be made fun of. And I'm sorry, but if you don't find the humor in the fact that a Supreme Court nominee from Harvard Law sat on the stand and said, I can't give you a clear definition of what a woman is.
I know what you did. You're a damn terrorist. All right, just get the hell out of here. I got a goddamn campaign.
If you don't think that's funny, then there's something wrong with you. Or say you can't make fun of the fact that, you know, a 6'3", you know, I don't know, 160, 170 pound man is masquerading around as a woman and winning competitive sports, you know, against women, and then you're castigated, denigrated, attacked for calling out how ridiculous that is.
Well,
you see what I'm saying? That's funny. It's funny. Like that would be me. I'm 6'3". I weigh 230 pounds, and I'm bald and I have a beard. If I put a wig on, just shaved, and put a wig on, it was like, yeah, I'm a woman now. You have to call me Patricia or some shit. No, if you didn't laugh at me, I would think there was something wrong with it. It's absolutely ridiculous, and that's why we have comedy being declared DOA right now, is because of, you know, that kind of shite. And that's it, folks. Hey, we have a P.O. box now. You can send us stuff. I'll post the address right before the members thank you at the end of the video proper. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. I've given you my thoughts for way too long. It's your turn to give me yours. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And don't forget to ding that bell for notifications so you know when we go live or upload a new video. And if you haven't yet, maybe you want to join. It's available, $2.99 a month, very affordable as well. We have 8 extra members live streams a month with much more content coming soon. Channel members are going to be mailed kazoos. The logo that's up here in the corner of the screen, that'll be on your kazoo. And I'll, if I can get the right color, I'll sign them for you with a Sharpie and mail them out to you from our P.O. box. But yeah, that's it, gang. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do all the YouTube things, not just for me, but your other favorite YouTubers. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tepokuian from the Place to Be Reviews. I've been here with all of yous. If I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and I'll catch you on the next one. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot to tell you. Do you want to send us stuff? Because this is how you send us stuff. We have a P.O. Box now. That's right. P.O. Box 924, Prudenville, Michigan 48657. If you have anything you'd like to send in to the Place to Be Reviews, that's where it goes, and that's where your packages will be coming from as well when I ship things out to you, my Kazooians.
I could do this all day. It's better to burn out than to fail.